SpaceX and NASA have finally set February 26th as the launch date for Crew-6, bringing 4 space flyers to the International Space Station, or ISS, for a 6-month stay. Crew-6 will fly the SpaceX Dragon capsule Endeavour atop a Falcon 9 rocket from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Space Exploration Technologies Corp., or SpaceX, is a California-based American spacecraft builder, launcher, and satellite communications company. Elon Musk launched it in 2002 to reduce space transportation costs to enable Mars settlement. The Falcon 9 Heavy and Starship launch vehicles, as well as the various rocket engines, Cargo Dragon and Crew Dragon spacecraft, and Starlink communication satellites, are all manufactured by the business. SpaceX is creating the Starlink satellite internet constellation to provide commercial internet access. The Starlink constellation became the largest satellite constellation ever launched in January 2020, and as of December 2022, it consists of approximately 3,300 tiny satellites in orbit. Starship is privately funded, reusable, super heavy-lift launch system for interplanetary and orbital travel. Once operational, it will be SpaceX's principal orbital vehicle, replacing the Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, and Dragon fleets. It will have the most payload capacity of any orbital rocket ever built when it debuts in early 2023, pending a launch license. What is SpaceX Crew-6? SpaceX Crew-6 will be the 10th overall crewed orbital mission and the 6th crewed operational NASA commercial crew flight of a Crew Dragon spacecraft. The task is set to launch on February 26, 2023. Crew-6 will ferry 4 astronauts to the International Space Station. The mission has been allocated to 2 NASA astronauts, one from the United Arab Emirates and one from Russia. Stephen Bowen and Warren Hoburg are the 2 NASA astronauts. Andrei Fedyaev, the cosmonaut, was reassigned from the Soyuz MS-23. On the flight, Sultan Al Nayati will lead the Emirates delegation. Want to know more about this captivating space program? Well, keep watching the video on our channel, Fly Me to the Moon. Then like, share, and subscribe to the track to learn about space. Check out the great crew. The European Space Agency stated on March 24, 2022, that Danish astronaut Andreas Morgensen would act as a backup pilot. On April 29, 2022, Axiom Space and Rashid Space Center, or RSC, confirmed that Crew-6 would also include an astronaut from the United Arab Emirates. The participation of MBRSC in this voyage results from a 2021 agreement between NASA and Axiom to fly a NASA astronaut, Mark T. Vande Hey, on board Soyuz MS-18 and Soyuz MS-19 to preserve an American presence on board the ISS. Axiom obtained the rights to NASA-owned seat on a SpaceX Crew-6 in exchange. Through a partnership with the United Arab Emirates Space Agency, Axiom granted the flight chance to an MBRSC professional crew member. The astronaut was later identified as Sultan Al Nayati. So how important is the Commercial Crew Program? Under contract to NASA, the Commercial Crew Program, or CCP, provides commercially operated crew transportation service to and from the International Space Station, and crew rotations between the International Space Station program's expeditions. NASA hopes to add Boeing when its Boeing Starliner spaceship becomes operational by 2024, and American spacemaker SpaceX begins providing service in 2020, utilizing the Crew Dragon spacecraft. NASA has contracted with Boeing for 6 operational missions and SpaceX for 14, providing ISS support through 2030. The vendor owns and operates the spacecraft, and NASA receives crew transportation as a commercial service. Each mission carries up to 4 astronauts to the ISS, with a 5th passenger option possible. Operational flights take place about once every 6 months for tasks. A spacecraft remains docked during a mission, and missions normally overlap by at least a few days. Between the retirement of the Space Shuttle in 2011 and the first operational CCP mission in 2020, NASA relied on the Soyuz program to transport space people to the ISS. While the first commercial crew program flights were initially scheduled for the end of 2017, Boeing announced in May 2016 that the first crewed flight would be postponed until 2018 owing to concerns with Starliner's Atlas V and 22 launch vehicle. Following the loss of Amos 6 in an unexpected launchpad explosion of a Falcon 9, the Crew Dragon's launch vehicle, SpaceX stated in December 2016 that their first crewed flights would be delayed until 2018. With no more Soyuz missions for American astronauts after 2018, the GAO raised concerns and advised in February 2017 that NASA prepare a crew rotation plan for further delays. Let's look at the history of Crew Dragon missions. The first operational voyage in the program, Crew-1, brought Victor Glover, Mike Hopkins, Soichi Noguchi, and Shannon Walker to the ISS aboard Resilience in November 2020. Crew-2 was supposed to use Resilience, but it was reassigned due to a scheduling change caused by the unintentional destruction of C-204 during testing. While NASA astronauts were assigned to either Crew Dragon or Starliner flights, JAXA astronaut Noguchi was open to being assigned to whichever spacecraft launched the first operational mission. Crew-2 launched in April of 2021, employing a previously flown Falcon 9 first-stage booster and a rebuilt Crew Dragon for the first time. Megan MacArthur, Shane Kimbrough, Thomas Pesquet, and Akihiko Hoseide were aboard Endeavour for the mission. Crew-3 launched in November 2021, transporting Thomas Mashburn, Raha Shari, Matthias Maurer, and Caleb Barron to the International Space Station. And Crew-4 launched in April 2022, carrying Kjell Lindgren, Bob Hines, Samantha Cristoforetti, and Jessica Watkins. After delays in the Starliner program, U.S. astronauts Josh Casada and Nicole Anna-Pullman and JAXA astronaut Koichi Wakata were reassigned to the Crew-5 mission. The fourth astronaut for Crew-5 is Russian cosmonaut Anna Kikina, who joins the Soyuz Dragon crew swap system, which keeps at least one NASA astronaut and one Roscosmos cosmonaut on each crew rotation mission. NASA and Roscosmos have agreed to a 3-flight seat swap agreement each year. A Russian cosmonaut will travel on one Crew Dragon flight per year in 2022, 2023, and 2024, while an American astronaut will go on one Soyuz voyage per year. The strategy ensures that the ISS will have at least one crew member to operate critical services even if one or both spacecraft types are grounded. NASA awarded SpaceX an extra 5 trips on August 31, 2022, increasing the total number of contracted Crew Dragon flights to 14. Additional flights will be available until 2030. Now let's look at the fascinating spacecraft associated with the Crew program. Crew Dragon is SpaceX's Dragon 2 class of spacecraft, an enhanced version of the company's first-generation Dragon. It measures 3.7 meters or 12 feet in width, 4.4 meters or 14 feet in height without its trunk, and 7.2 meters or 24 feet with it. Crew cabins are planned to be reusable, unlike bins which are jettisoned before capsule re-entry. Uncrewed Cargo Dragon spacecraft, on the other hand, can be repaired for use in SpaceX's commercial missions, with each capsule capable of flying 5 times. Crew Dragon spacecraft can fly for up to a week without docking to the ISS. Each Crew Dragon spacecraft has a launch escape system consisting of 8 SpaceX Super Draco engines, each generating 71,000 newtons or 16,000 pounds of force of thrust. The first test spaceship equipped with such engines was designed to achieve a propulsive landing upon return to Earth. Still, these plans were eventually abandoned in favor of a standard splashdown return near Florida in the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico. On the first 6 flights, the contract price for each seat on a Crew Dragon flight was between $60 and $67 million US. Still, NASA's Office of Inspector General, the OIG, estimates the face value of each ticket at roughly $55 million US. The first contract cost $258.7 million, or $64.6 million a seat, and the second contract extension, missions 10 through 14, cost $288 million, or $72 million a seat. Well, that's all for now, so subscribe to Fly Me to the Moon channel to learn more about recent expedition programs. Then like, share, and click the bell symbol to never miss out on the latest space news.